the best way to combat that is to achieve and to
Oh, I
prove
love it.
yourself. My mom used to
100%.
say, "Be so good they can't ignore you."
Hey, friends, welcome back to another episode of Mastering Post Production Sound. Today, I am beyond thrilled and overjoyed to be joined by one of the industry's premier and beloved post production sound professionals, Karol Urban, CAS. With over 2 decades of experience as a sound re recording mixer for television and film, Karol's passion for storytelling through sound has left an indelible mark on the post production sound industry. From her early days in Washington, D.C. to her current role in Los Angeles, Karol's commitment to pushing the boundaries of sound mixing and fostering community within the industry is unparalleled. As former president of the Cinema Audio Society, she spearheaded initiatives to revitalize the organization, including the successful return of the CAS Awards post-pandemic and the launch of their YouTube channel. Join me as we delve into Karol's journey, her insights on the power of sound in storytelling, and perhaps a glimpse into what's next for her. How's that?
That's
How's that? Not
awesome.
bad?
That's fantastic. Oh my gosh. I feel like I sound more impressive than I actually feel, but that sounds
Oh
amazing.
no, Karol, you are most impressive. Well, thank you just for taking time to connect here, have a conversation about your journey, and this is really what this space exists for, is to help those who are aspiring post production sound professionals and professionals as well navigate this crazy world, this industry
Mhm.
that we're in. And I know just from our interactions and from watching you from afar that you have a huge heart for community,
Oh, I
for
love it.
service
Yeah.
within the industry.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate you taking time. I just want to know more about you and your journey. Really, like, where did it start for you? How I do know this. I do know this. I know that we have like that musical thing in common because I read, if I and correct me if I'm wrong, but you learned how to play the piano. You went to a prestigious high school for the arts.
I
You were into
did. It
dance and a bunch of other
musical
stuff. So
theater, yeah,
yeah,
and
musical theater.
composition. Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, talk to me.
Yeah.
How because we shared that. I was a musician. I played in the
Mhm.
musical pit orchestras. I went on to get my
Yeah.
degree in music. But tell me,
Yeah.
for you, where did it start? At what point did you know? Sound. This is
Hmm.
something I want. What was that spark? And take me a little bit of just through your
Well,
journey.
honestly, funny that you say it was a spark. I think it was actually a lack of spark because I was actually born legally blind. So I don't know if you
Oh,
knew this.
I did read this. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right.
So I
Yeah.
had a muscular deformity in my eyes. So I actually had optical input, but I didn't have bioptical vision. Like we all have two images that, it's kind of like when you
Yeah.
close the right eye and the left eye, I think the image kind
It
of
does
moves a
that
little
thing.
bit, but then when
Mhm.
you put it together, you see one thing. But that
Right.
also, what that gives you is a context of depth. That's what your two eyes do. It gives you a context of depth.
Okay.
So, like, I have really bad depth perception to this day. I was the child of the '70s. I know it's hard to believe, um, but
I love it.
but I had to wait until I was probably 6 years old. I think about 6 years old, for my eyes to literally physically be large enough because they had to go in and reattach the muscles to my eyeball. Like, they actually, because
Wow.
nowadays, like, if when a child is born with the deformity that I had, they would go, "Oh yeah, kid's not. They're only able to move their eyes in this direction, and they're not in. They'll just zap them with this laser, and we're probably pretty good. You know what I mean?" But
Right. Oh,
but
okay.
now,
Yeah. Yeah.
and from
Yeah.
my
Right.
experience, however, was I had to wait until my eyes got mature enough to go through that process with an actual traditional surgical procedure, and they did a
Wow.
pretty good job. Like I could have, a lot of people who have this procedure in that
Mhm.
back in that period have an offset in their eyes, and my eyes are actually
Okay.
I look pretty normal looking, I think. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, like only my opticians can tell, and they all go, you have a, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, I know.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
But yeah, I could see
Wow.
light and I could see color, but I had kind of fly vision because I couldn't resolve the
Oh,
images of the right
yes.
and left eye, but I also didn't have a dominance in the right or left eye because I had only partial muscular control in both of them,
Wow.
but they were different muscles. It wasn't
Okay.
symmetrical.
Wow. Yeah.
So I had really bad eyes, and that made me listen to distance and the color of things. Like I don't think my ears are any better than anybody else's, but I would say my preamps are pretty good in the
I
sense
would
that, like,
I would
you know,
say, yeah. I would say,
and
yeah.
I pay attention to it more. I paid attention,
Uh-huh.
you know.
Okay.
So by the time that I had this surgery, I started to assign sound to basically concrete images.
Yeah.
I never left sound being uh, a major source of input. I think most people lean on
Oh,
visuals, and
yeah.
then sound
Mhm.
ends up being a complementary sense.
Yes,
I
completely.
definitely, I drive a car, I lean on my eyes, look around, but
Yeah.
my depth perception is actually really bad. That's why I'm kind of known for driving a Beetle convertible, because I learned how to drive
Okay.
my Beetle convertible in a hayfield in Suffolk so that I could learn how far away things are by literally
Ah,
running into hay bales.
into it.
Yeah, because
Wow.
I don't
Yeah.
have depth perception. I cannot play sports. Yeah, I am always have mystery bruises on my body. Nobody's beating me. I just have, like, I run into door
You're like, "Where did
jams
that?"
and
Yeah, this
hit
boom, boom,
angles
boom.
all the time because my depth perception's not so good. I break
Yeah.
things that are fragile.
Understood.
It's terrible.
Mhm.
but um
Wow.
but as a result, I love sound, and I pay attention to the color and space, and panning is very important information to me,
Mm.
and
Mhm.
the color of frequency to give information as far, as far as distance,
Yeah.
and as far as how things are being communicated. Is that through a television, or is that in the other room, or is it in the other room, and do you know what I mean? Like,
I
those
do.
things
Wow.
are things that I pay a lot of attention
A
to,
lot of attention. Yeah.
and that it helps me in my day to day.
Yeah.
So I was obsessed with sound for this reason.
Yeah. Okay.
I also had a muscular deformity in my leg. I was a cute kid, let me tell you. I was like metal Forrest Gump braces. I had the
Oh,
eyeglasses from the 70s, so
I
that
love it.
they
Uh-huh.
actually strapped around your
Strap
eyes, and
on
they were
the
huge. And I had the patch because I had to train my muscles so the patch would
Okay.
move.
Yeah.
The kids in school were always like, the patch was on the other eye yesterday. I'm like, you're right. Yes. like,
That's oh,
it
wow.
was,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was kind of a bit of a wreck. I had white blonde hair. It was just like a bad situation. So
Oh.
I'm aging like fine wine.
Yeah, yeah, I
So
love it. I love it. I love
yeah,
it.
so basically, sound has always been very important to me. I learned how to
Okay,
play
yeah.
piano very early, to strengthen the muscles in my legs. As soon as I got the
Mm.
braces off, my mother put me in dance. I got into art.
Ah.
That was sound was very important to me.
Yeah, wow.
And I was a classical pianist. I can't jam. Boo.
You can't
But
you
I
can't
can
read
make
read
four-part
chords. Yeah, I gotcha.
harmony and
Hey,
create
okay.
dissonance and resolution very easily.
I
And my
love it.
rhythm
There
is
you
on
go.
point. I can
Oh,
poly, yeah,
yes.
I can polyrhythm. I can do, like, yeah, that's all good. Yeah.
I
So,
love it. I love it. I love it.
yeah, very coordinated.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was going into high school, and I was writing a lot of music, and I was obsessed
Mhm.
with films. I am the kid who never went outside to play.
Mhm. Okay.
My mom knew that I loved the movie Fame, and she had heard about this program for a public high school, and we were in public school,
Mhm.
where each county had given money to be able to afford a program for a number of select individuals who auditioned and were able to get into this program. And we were able to study at like universities at like age
Wow.
13. Yeah,
Wow.
and it was wonderful. So, age 13, I started my first class working in a recording studio, learning cakewalk and finale,
Ah,
and
okay. Yeah,
running
yeah, yeah.
multi-track, and creating music,
Wow.
and working with musicians and engineering recordings. I was studying, I guess, musical theater. It was called performing arts.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was able to do that at Old Dominion University for half of my public school days,
Wow,
for
that's
my
awesome.
entire high school education. And I'm
Man.
a super nerd, so I graduated earlier,
Woo!
a year
Nice.
early. Yeah, and
Nice.
and for funsies, because I'm super nerd, I went to a community college and took classes during the summers. So I graduated with like almost a year of credits into college
Oh,
a year
man, that's
early.
awesome. Okay,
Um,
wow.
so I double majored and double minored and went to James Madison University because it was in state. I was paid for my school.
Wow.
And my professor had said, while I was in the recording studio, I said, "This is what I want to do. I want to do this." And he
Mm.
said, "You need to go to James Madison University. They have a music industry degree." And I went, okay.
Yes.
So,
Got it.
so I
Yes.
applied and I didn't get in. I got into Virginia Tech, which was great because I ended up taking my first year and I took all my electronics classes, of which
Okay.
they're not the same level at JMU is more
Oh, got it.
liberal
Got it.
arts
Okay.
college,
Yeah.
whereas Virginia Tech is an engineering school. So I got an
Okay.
engineering
Yeah.
electronics kind of base
Oh,
background, and
wow.
then I was able to finish the rest of my education in a liberal arts school that excelled in the actual function of what we do. And I was
Wow.
able to
Yeah,
actually
absolutely.
major in what they call the School of Media Arts and Design, audio post production.
No way.
So I was able, yeah,
Wow.
I was actually
That's
able to like
so
study,
cool.
and I went out of college going,
Exactly.
I want to do exactly this, and that's
Oh,
it. I want to do it. That's the
that's
thing. That's the
awesome.
job. That's the thing.
So
Yeah,
you knew right
yeah,
away. You were like, this is
right
it.
away. Yeah, I was like
Oh,
17, I think, yeah,
oh my gosh.
maybe 18 when I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do.
Oh,
And
that's
and I
amazing.
beelined towards it. But I grew up in a town that like if I do what I do there, I'd be working for the
Mhm.
700 Club because I think they're the only people with a post-production
Oh.
department. Like it's like
There, okay.
like it's a little bit a different
Okay,
environment.
I
Yeah.
get you. Yeah, I get you. Sure.
Big military
I'm pick
town. Yeah,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
a little evangelistic. Yeah, it's
Okay,
like a little funky
okay. Yeah,
town.
I get you. I get you.
So I actually was driving to New York, and I only had I had less than $200 in my bank account. My car broke down in DC, and I ended up getting a very scary haunted apartment in DC,
Oh, Lord, really?
and
Okay.
donating my car to the Purple Heart because I couldn't afford to tow it,
Oh.
and looking for a job in sound so that I could pay the money to have enough money to keep going to New York from Virginia. So I did
Wow.
Virginia to DC.
Wow.
Yeah, and by the time I left DC, I was married to my husband who grew up in DC and was a JMU grad too, studying the same thing.
Nice.
And he was working for National Geographic, and I was working for Discovery Channel, and we were they called them sound designers on the East
Yeah.
Coast,
Okay,
which
yeah.
is a sound editor, ADR recordist, fill-in Foley artist,
A little bit of
music
everything sounds
editor
like.
slash mixer, and we made our own masters and mastered our. We did it from stop to
Wow.
end, like beginning to end, and we
Wow.
worked in mostly documentaries. This is
Okay,
before
yeah.
reality TV was really hitting.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
so yeah, and I left right about the time that that Discovery Channel decided to cancel Dirty Jobs and re-up
Oh,
Honey Boo
yeah, with
Boo,
micro.
and I was
Uh-huh.
like,
Oh.
"Mama gone," and
You're
so
like,
I'm
"I'm
like,
out."
"Yeah, I'm like, I'm good. Yeah, I feel like this is yeah, I want to go in a different direction." And
Okay.
I came to Los Angeles after searching the entire country for not trying to go to Los Angeles because I didn't want to be in the
You
beehive. I just want to do what I want to
Oh.
do. I
Oh,
don't
I
really,
see. Got
yeah,
it.
I
Yeah.
just want to do what I just want to tell stories and work with
Yeah.
filmmakers and like,
Uh-huh.
I feel like we're empathy dealers in what we do, in the
Ooh.
sense that
Ooh, that's good.
we help communicate narrative, and what
Mhm.
we do
Mhm.
is incredibly powerful because
Yeah.
like I say, my slogan for my little company is I play mind games with sound.
With
um,
sound. I did read that. I
yeah,
love
yeah,
that.
and
Yeah.
so because it's a very psychological thing that we do, you don't see it,
Sure.
it just affects you. It
Mm,
just affects you.
that's
And
good.
the way we're able to reproduce sound is actually closer to a realistic experience than really we're able to perceive image. Like the image
Oh,
we
I
create
love
is
that. Yeah.
it's in a box, it's contained, it's flatter.
Mhm.
Even when we were all into 3D television, it was still not, it was bioptical, but it wasn't, it's not,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
not the same. Even VR doesn't really, it hasn't really
It's not
passed
there.
through
Right. Right.
that to really feel like a realistic experience. But
Mhm.
I can absolutely punk you with reproduced sound.
You
Like
right?
yeah, I can
Right? Oh, I
100%,
love it.
I can
Mhm.
1%, 100% punk you that way. So
Wow.
so it's an incredibly powerful psychological tool,
Mhm.
and it's a consistent experience that we have in our life that we don't often make our dominant input source for information. So it has the ability to be incredibly influential, incredibly insidious,
Yeah.
incredibly
Mhm.
emotionally evocative, incredibly inspiring. It's a really powerful tool,
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
and by working with different filmmakers and working with different writers and producers, I'm able to take experiences that maybe you and I haven't been able to have those individual experiences ourselves,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
maybe you've had that experience but I haven't, or I have and you haven't.
Yeah.
we're able to put that in a forum where we can have a collective experience as a culture,
Yeah,
and
that's
that
good.
provides us these connective pathways to be able to empathize and
Mm,
understand each other's experience better, to be able to look at it from the perspective of another individual.
wow.
And that's an incredibly powerful service.
Oh boy,
Yeah,
is
I
it?
love it.
Wow.
Yeah.
You brought up empathy. Like, first of all, wow, that all of
Yeah.
it, like, wow. You know, and just to go backwards, like this idea of empathy, like I've never heard it put this way, and I love it because I'm a huge believer in bringing empathy and compassion and kindness and
Hmm.
tolerance to the industry. More of
Absolutely.
like, within
Yeah.
our everyday, because I believe it will translate to. But this, I love what
Yeah, even if
your
our
passion
narrative
and
is communicating a situation of lack of empathy and
yeah,
injustice, even if
right.
we're still communicating an experience that
Mm,
each person who gathers from that collective forum of media, that
yeah,
story, we're gaining that information. We're receiving an input of another person's story, another person's perspective,
absolutely.
another, whether it
Yeah,
reaffirms our own perspectives or whether it gives us something in conflict within ourselves.
yeah.
But that information is important, and it's personal.
100%,
You know,
100%. Yes, and it's
yeah,
personal. Yeah, and
it's
that's kind of
personal.
like what we do, right?
Yeah,
We get the opportunity to sit down and help tell and communicate
it's an
with
honor.
the yeah, and to be able
It's an
to, and so
honor.
much of it is, when you're working with or at least I find when I'm working with a new director or new team for
Hmm.
something on TV, it's like, okay, let's find out what are we trying to communicate? How can we, as the sonic professionals, help communicate that through sound?
Hmm.
And oftentimes I feel like if we've done our job, like it's not noticed, it's experienced, and it's like
Yeah.
communicating exactly what they're trying to say through a sound and picture. Well, that's beautifully put, and thank you for sharing that. I want to go back to this journey. Wow. Like,
Yeah.
let me tell you, like everything you're saying, I'm like, first of
I
all,
tried so hard not to come to
that
LA.
you're like,
I
I
did. I was
tried, but
like,
it brought me in.
everything just kept pointing to LA, and I'm like, all right,
Okay.
yeah. So,
Okay. And you know what? Here's
and
the
you know
thing. Like,
what? The
go
crazy
ahead, tell
thing
me.
is, I love it. I love LA.
Oh,
Oh, I didn't think
oh,
I would love it. I love it so
you
much.
love
Oh
it,
my
and
God,
I
I do.
I love that you love it. You exude loving it, and so I think
Oh,
every
I
time
adore it.
we experience, I just a huge fan of what you've done in our industry, and you've always been such a compassionate person and an open, inviting. Everybody belongs
Oh, it's
here.
very kind of you.
There's never like a wall. So I appreciate this what you do and you bring to the industry. You were, I mean, I'm just gonna say you were destined to be out here,
Oh,
like
you're
you tried
sweet.
to do everything to stay away, but it was
I
like,
did. I looked at Miami. I looked at Atlanta. I looked at New York. I went, ah. And then I went, it's all pretty much the
no,
same size as
y-
DC. Maybe New York's a bit bigger, but
yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like if I want a new challenge,
Oh,
I think I have to go
I
to
love it.
LA. Yeah.
Well, I called you and you answered. I think I'm a big believer everything happens for a reason, and
Mhm.
that when we find, like, we all need to find our why. Like, what is it what we're doing? There's almost
Mhm.
like there's bigger things at play, and you we needed you to be out here,
Oh,
and
that's
so the
sweet.
way that your journey, I mean, even from the beginning, like, just, thank you for sharing just, some of the physical limitations that you experienced, and then how this story of
Well,
how it became part, I mean, just, it's
yeah. I mean,
how much how
it's
much of
interesting.
yeah, tell me.
I don't necessarily see it as limitation. It is a
Mm.
limitation. You're totally right.
But you made it
Logistically, it's a
not that, it's
limitation,
not that,
but it didn't
yeah.
feel like a limitation. It felt like a perspective. Do you know what I mean?
That's
Like, it
yes,
felt like I
that's
got to
so good.
experience a perspective. Yeah,
Yes, that's so good.
and that helps me. That helps me today.
Mhm. Mhm.
It helps me. It's interesting. I just worked on an immersive podcast, which, by the way, is a very interesting growing field and one I really, really like
Oh, yeah.
loved. Super,
I was
super
just
fun.
talking
Like,
about this the other day. Yes,
yeah,
go.
oh, because you have to lean to the screen because you never want your audience member to hear something and go, "Ugh," Yeah.
Well,
Like it
right,
has,
right, right.
like, even though you want them to feel immersed and you want it to feel real,
Uh-huh.
there's a
Uh-huh.
convention to making them lean forward because there's still a
Yeah.
focus for their vision.
Oh, yeah.
In an immersive experience, it's like a complete radio play. And it's wonderful. Like when there's a chase, you can make people pass by you. You can make people whisper
Ah,
in your
that's
ear. You can
yes.
people
I
like, because
love
it
it.
doesn't matter where they look. It's
Mhm.
There is no
Mhm.
visual, and it was really freeing. But I remember I was hired to work on it, and at one point, at the end of it, I didn't even think of. I was like, oh, this will be fun, cool adventure,
Yeah.
yay!
Yeah.
Audio adventure. I was excited, and and
I
the
love it.
the gentleman who hired me said, we've hired a bunch of people to work on these, and it might, if it's difficult for you, let us know, because sometimes people have a problem when they work creating
Oh.
sound for picture when there's
Okay.
no picture to create sound. And that doesn't mean that they're not amazing. It just means that that's not how they process the
Sure.
information. So it
Sure.
becomes more
Sure.
difficult to them. And of course, I was like, I went into this massive spiral where I'm like, I hadn't even thought of that. I wasn't worried at all, but dude, you totally put that
Yes.
in my head, man. Yeah. And
Yeah.
and
Oh,
it
it's great.
wasn't a problem at all. It was actually really freeing. But I think that's
Mm.
because not that I don't pay attention to visuals. Like, I love film
Sure.
and I love
Of
the
course.
world. And
Yeah.
oftentimes I think because I have flat vision, my depth perception isn't
Mhm.
very
Mhm.
good.
Mhm.
My world looks like TV and film.
Oh,
Do you know
that's
what I mean?
good.
Like, that's what
Yeah.
vision looks like to me.
That's
Like, it looks pretty
yeah.
convincing to me. I don't really
Yeah.
see, do you know what I mean? I don't really
I
see a lot of
do.
depth.
I
So
do.
so
Wow.
so for me, I really get immersed because it's really close to my natural experience.
There you
You
go.
know what I mean?
That's it
Yeah.
right there. Exactly, right, and you bring that, experience, and you bring that to
Mhm.
life, and it's an asset to you in this, in this
Yeah,
sense
it
right
really
here.
is.
Yeah.
It really is. I can feel, for me, I can take away the fact that I'm creating something in a box, because I can
Oh,
feel like
that's
I
good.
can jump in the box. I feel like I'm in
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well,
That's
talk
amazing.
to me a little bit about, like, you know, being classically trained in
Mhm.
piano
Yeah.
and, then also, transitioning to dance as well. I
Mhm.
know that there is an aspect to those disciplines
Mhm.
that requires a lot of hard work. Like, it's not easy sitting down and
No.
playing Chopin or learning,
No, no.
any piece. It's hard. So talk to me
Yeah.
a little bit of what music and dance and the arts in general, how it prepared you for what you do today.
I think it's all about self-expression and being able
Mm,
to create an experience for someone that is capable of being received. Like, because you can create art or self-expression, but if it doesn't communicate, it's still art and it's still expression, and that is
mhm.
great. But that's
Yeah.
really for the artist.
Mm,
And art
mhm.
should be for the artist. But if you're creating something that's a performance, like you're creating something that is created to be consumed, um, it gave me lots of experiences to understand the way people perceive experience. And I
Mm,
love it. Like,
mhm.
one of my favorite things to do, I'm a museum rat. Like,
Okay.
if
Yeah,
I have
tell
a
me
day
more. Tell
off,
me more. Yeah.
like, I
Wow.
run to the museums.
That's
Yeah,
great.
I remember when I came to LA, one of the things I found most offensive is I went to the museum and they asked for an entry. I lived in DC for 12 years where museums are free. And
Oh, look at that.
I was
I
like,
didn't know
art
that.
is for the people.
How
I was
dare
so
you
upset.
charge me?
Charge me for
They
art.
do
Yeah.
make it pretty expensive out here for that. I know, right?
Oh, they do.
Wow.
And I'm totally the one that's always trying to bring a group of people whenever there's a free day, because they do like corporate sponsored days. Like,
Oh,
I'm on
oh,
every newsletter for that.
I love it.
But I give money to museums. I become a member of museums. I love experiencing things. And one
Mm.
of my favorite things to do is actually experience installation art, because it's
Oh, yeah.
experimenting with the receiver's experience.
Mm,
It's
mhm.
experiencing with it's an experiment of medium,
Yeah.
which I find really, really interesting. I've
Oh.
definitely had sonic experiences in where I've either seen performance art or installation art, and I've
Mhm.
been like, "Ooh, that's really interesting." Like, I just went and saw Last Days, which is
Tell me.
the it's based on the HBO Gus Van Sant film that came out.
Oh. Yeah,
It's not
okay.
about Kurt Cobain, but it's about the concept of Kurt Cobain as a
Oh,
more
man. Yes, yes, yes. Oh
genericized,
gosh.
grander character.
Yeah,
And it's a perfect opera because it's absolutely, it's the last days before suicide. So it's
yeah.
it's a crisis. It's a,
Yeah.
it's a
Mm-hmm.
definite, yeah. And it's a definite cathartic moment. But the
Yeah.
music was so interesting because they went from the strings specifically, but the music all in general, was a sound design tool as well as a symphonic tool for the actual music. So there
Yeah.
were these moments that were really amazing where it went from playing music that was supporting operatic voice,
Yeah.
to the background of like one of the moments that was most compelling was when they became sirens, and they became
Oh,
convincing
yeah.
sirens. Like
Oh,
they
okay.
went
Yes.
from instrumental and symphonic to
Uh-huh.
uh, literal and
Wow. Yeah.
sound effect oriented,
Yeah.
and they were able
Wow.
to do so in a dynamic way that was organic within the musician's sphere,
Wow.
and
That's clever.
it was
Wow.
bitching. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
I was like,
awesome.
I stand inspired. Like, okay, that's a
Yes.
real concept. Like, how can we talk like, and so I've been kind of thinking about how we can make, in my position as a re-recording
Mhm.
mixer, how is it that I can blend music into the sound design of an experience? Like
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
when is that transition most effective for the narrative? And that's been
Mm-hmm.
something really fun to kind of experiment with recently.
Oh,
You know?
that's awesome. No, yeah, thank you for
So
sharing that.
like
You know,
art
our
inspires, you know?
yeah,
Fill
that's
the
good.
cup, fill the
I was
cup.
thinking about
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it's like,
And especially in what we do. You know, you got 4 hours
exactly.
off, get the heck out, go get fill the
Go do
cup, fill the cup.
yeah, fill it up. I love it. Well, you know, it's so fun. Funny that you mentioned that. You know, I'm a big advocate for, you know, self-care, taking care. You well, you
Mhm.
know, we how many
Yeah.
our hours are so long
It's
sometimes, you know,
ridiculous. Yeah,
and we're
yeah.
going on schedules
Yeah.
depending, you know, what we're working on. I truly believe it's so important to get out. Like, however you
Mhm.
want to take care of yourself. If that's
Yeah.
connecting with nature, taking a
Mhm.
walk, meditating, prayer, journaling, anything,
Absolutely.
take care of yourself, your mental, emotional, physical, spiritual self. Because I believe if
Absolutely.
we are feeling the cup, you know, in those areas, we can be better creatives when we sit down.
100%.
We can be able to communicate
100%.
and that I mean, we're all I feel we're all creative beings and it's like when we
Mhm.
sit down it's just an extension of who we are. If we're not taking care of those stuff, we're not filling the cup, we're depleted. So what do we
Yes.
bring? We bring a lesser, you
That's
know,
exactly right.
creative to it.
That was
So
a hard lesson for me.
tell me more.
That
Like
was a hard lesson for
how
me.
do you
Yeah.
take care of yourself in this industry?
Well, I'm a big exercise nutball. I always have been.
I love it.
I was a floor gymnast for a while. So
Oh,
I
okay.
love I love the duress of exercise. I am
Mhm.
someone that because I know people say, oh, you should meditate, you should do yoga, you should.
Mhm.
That is
Mhm.
wonderful for people that that works for. That is not my
Exactly.
personality.
Yeah, no, find
I
yeah, find what
am the
works for you, right?
opposite. Yeah, I'm the opposite
Mhm.
energy. So for me, I actually love spin class. I actually love
Okay,
mud runs. I actually love like I love to
that's
I
awesome.
find the silencing of my mind occurs not when I find a silent space to
Uh-huh.
diffuse it in, but when I found a loud space in which so
Ooh,
much is on me physically to perform
yeah.
that I have to focus on my biology, like the commitment
Wow.
of making it up this hill or making it
Mhm.
through that sprint or pushing my body to a level of duress where I
Mm.
cannot focus on anything else functionally in order to achieve a goal.
Oh,
And
wow.
in
That's
doing that,
fascinating. Yeah.
I complete that goal and I go, ah, that goal is complete. And then at the moment of that, there's like, and there is nothing else going on in my mind. Now I have silence
Wow.
and I have
Wow.
peace and I have wisdom and I have perspective.
I
But
love
I
it.
know people find us, they do the
I love it.
opposite. They unpeel. I can't. I
Sure,
gotta
sure, sure.
like, I gotta drive through
No,
it.
that's awesome. No, and that's what I love. It's like find what works for you and do
Yes,
it. Take care of
absolutely.
yourself,
Everybody
you
is
know?
different. Everybody is different.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it took even my husband and I a long time to
Mhm.
recognize that he is one that needs quiet and space to
Okay. Sure.
unpeel and defuse. Like
Sure, sure, sure.
he would be that guy. You know, like he
Mhm.
definitely likes meditation and yoga more than I would.
Got it. Yeah.
But it took us a while to recognize that like my level of energy is
Mhm.
actually natural to me. Like it
That
is
that's
like
great. Yeah.
I'm at peace, you know,
Oh, I
where
love
he's
it.
a much lower energy and he's like,
Sure.
dude, you were spinning like all the, you know, and I'm like,
I get you.
this is my trot, you know, this is
There
my
you go.
trot. Yeah.
This is
You know,
my trot. I love it.
so
Well, your
and
energy,
everybody's into it, different
exactly
individually.
that energy that you possess. Talk to me a little bit of how you transfer that energy when you sit down and because
Hmm.
look it, we are
Oh yeah.
as
It's
you
a
know, we're
sedentary
around.
gig.
It's a, yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And
It's
you
a
when you're
sedentary
around
gig. Hmm.
people, right? And when, when we're on a
Yep.
dub stage and we have a group of people, like talk to me a little bit about how you communicate, what that energy, that collective collaboration, what does that look like for you? Do you love that? Do you enjoy being around the people? Do you love digging in deep with the directors, with the showrunners? Talk to me a little bit about, yeah, that experience
I
and that energy.
do. I love. I don't know if this translates to everybody's experience, but I love to AP English everything. Like I want to write me some cliff notes. Like let's talk about
Oh,
like I do. I
oh,
love
tell me more.
notes.
I love this. This
Notes
is
are my
great.
favorite
Yeah,
part. Notes are my
it's
favorite
great.
part.
Oh,
And
I love it.
I'm a very social person, and I particularly like I've worked a lot of my career, probably half of my career, probably half of my 26, 27 years I've spent as a single mixer. And the
Okay.
other
Yeah.
half I've spent on
Mm-hmm.
a team in a larger
Got it.
environment. And I
Mm-hmm.
have to say, given my druthers, team all day. Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm a
Mm-hmm.
social individual and I want to hear how the story is affecting my coworkers. I
Yes.
want to hear how my mixing partner is experiencing the scene
Mm-hmm.
and what they think
Mm-hmm.
should be emphasized. I want to go through that experience,
That's good.
and I want to do that with my producers and my filmmakers, and I want to do that with the network, and I want to get the message across. Like I love spotting notes. I love my supervisors. You know,
There you
like I
go.
tease all the
Yeah.
time. I was like, I married a
Yeah, there
sound
you, yeah,
editor. You know what
right.
I mean? Like I
You
totally love
know.
my team. Yeah, I love my
Yeah.
team. Yeah, and I love what they bring, and I love
Mhm.
their spin on things, and
Mhm.
I love exploring that with sound. It's really
Mm.
amazing. I do find that there's something really special, and perhaps it is because of my oral preference for
Mhm.
information and storytelling over visual.
Mhm.
But as long as I'm able to keep myself healthy when I'm outside of the chair by doing my spin classes and taking the dog for a walk
Yeah.
and running around in enough circles that my body is healthy,
Yeah.
um, I feel like I have the ability to sit down, and as soon as I look in the screen at a story and as soon as I
Mhm.
put my hands on the console, I just
Mm.
dive in. Like I am
Oh,
all
yes.
in. Like
Oh, I
I
love it.
gotta say, I'm a little annoying on stage to all my coworkers, and I apologize because
Ah.
they're all like, Carol, use the bathroom, go to
Oh,
lunch, get the heck out of here. Like, because
yeah,
I
you're
just get in it and I get so committed about whatever it
Oh,
is that I'm
uh-huh,
working on
uh-huh,
that I just
uh-huh.
want to play with it a little bit longer. And if that
Oh, I
means
love it.
it's on me to play with it a little bit longer,
Sure.
I'm the first one to be like, oh, but I just want to see if this works. I'm not even sure. I just want to experiment. Like I'll do it
I
on me. Like I
I
just want
love
to play
it.
with it for
Yeah.
a
I just
second.
wanna,
Yeah, like
yeah.
I'm exploring. I'm experimenting.
Yes. Yes.
And I love it. It's fantastic. I can get
Mm.
lost in it, and I love psychology. Like that might be
Okay.
my second to
Okay.
sound. I love psychology.
Wow.
I love
Wow.
human experience. So notes are human experience. Like
Yes, absolutely.
it's
Right.
before it goes out to the world and people
Mhm.
experience it however you've designed it. They consume it from
Yeah.
wherever their perspective is. Before
Yeah.
it's mass consumed, it's consumed by the people in the room who have
Correct.
contributed to its creation before it
Correct.
got to me. And
Yeah.
discussing with them what they meant and what they intended and what that's really fascinating. Some of the best experiences I've had in my career have been where I've gone a direction and they've gone, no, I want something completely different, a completely
Sure.
different perspective. And I've
Yes.
gone to communicate X. You want to do Y? Okay,
Uh-huh.
cool.
Okay.
Let's try it. All right. And then
Yeah.
halfway through, I go, well, goddamn, you're right.
It
Like,
it
I was like, why
it
works? I
worked.
see
It
how we
worked.
go through why, and then you're able to, and this is when I feel like I really felt a growth in my ability as a mixer,
Mm.
is when
Mhm.
I was able to then put on the hat of the person who wanted why and the glasses of the person who wanted why and apply the knowledge and experience and uh, information preference of listening
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
to their narrative, looking at it from their perspective.
Yes.
And
That's
that's
key.
cool.
Right. Yeah,
That's
that's
real
awesome.
cool. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. And we've all had that experience, right? When we feel like
Yes.
we're like, "Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, okay." I have a
Yeah.
very similar thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
you want to take all the sound? You don't like any? Okay, let's try. Oh, that works, right?
Okay, yeah. Oh,
And a
I see what you're
testament.
doing.
Yeah, I see
Yeah.
what you're doing there, you know? And it's a testament to how you handle that because
Mhm.
we all know that in this industry, it's this collaboration. We have to. It won't go like, if I sit there and I'm, like, fighting for what I think it should be, right, that's
Right.
me just getting my ego in the way,
Right,
and
right.
I need to be open to that collaboration, but, "Oh, yeah, let
Correct.
me see," and
Yeah.
feedback, right, being open to feedback,
Absolutely.
and we're like, "Oh, yes, now I
Okay, yeah.
understand and I get it," so
Yes.
note
Yeah.
to any aspiring people out there: be open, right? Be
Yeah,
open to this.
notes
This is
are not they're not personal.
no,
They have a
right.
mission. It's beyond you. You
That's
are
good.
just you're a vessel for that. Like you're
I
not
love it.
it's not personal. It's not personal. And in fact,
Uh-huh.
if you can receive a note and you can absorb that note with the knowledge that you are a vessel for that narrative, that you're serving a
Mm-hmm.
narrative, um, it makes you more valuable than someone who can just check the box and read minds and give them what they
Mm,
want all the time. Like you want people to be involved in their creative process, and a lot of
yes,
times they
absolutely.
will be inspired to experiment and try things different and to view even their own creation in a different way as a result of that back and forth,
Yes.
which is pretty fascinating. I live for that moment where you get a filmmaker who or a writer who, there were words on a paper, they were a concept, they were,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah.
been funded, cut up, rewritten, story
Right.
workshopped, blah blah blah. Like years have gone by. A lot of these people they're mortgaging their
Yes.
homes to get the money to
To
do
make
these.
it
Like
happen.
they're going
Right.
through so much to get their story out. And there's this moment where the creators can see what's manifested, and we have this
Mm-hmm.
incredible situation to be kind of the flower delivery person
Yeah.
because they
What
get
an
to
honor.
see it
Yeah.
as a private theatrical experience on the dub stage. And it's
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes where they see the closest thing to the final
Yes.
and the most
Right.
optimal
Right.
experience that they're ever going to see,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And so
Yes.
you're giving that to them, that experience, and they get this look in their eyes, and you can tell that something that was an inkling in their mind has manifested into reality and sits in
It's
front of
beautiful.
them as
Yeah.
something that is birthed and exists. And
Oh,
that's
no, that's
amazing.
it is
Yeah.
amazing. I find that the directors, producers, people I've worked with, filmmakers, they love this process. It's like
Yeah.
they often say, "This is
Yeah.
my favorite part," for to see it all
Yeah.
come together, and we get the honor of being part of that. And
Absolutely.
what an honor, a responsibility, an
Mhm.
opportunity. It's
An
it's amazing.
adventure.
So,
Yeah.
adventure, I love it.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, to shift gears a little bit, I was reading a quote, and I just loved it, and it was a quote from you. I'm gonna read.
Oh. Mhm.
No, no, I loved it. I loved it. Um, this is, I don't know if you remember saying this, but it says the best thing I could do for equality is to be successful as a woman and be
Mhm.
a force for equality by treating everyone around me the way I would want to be treated.
That
I
is
try to
exactly
lift
correct.
others up who share the love of what we do, and I take no mind in their gender, race, or creed. That
That's
was
right.
beautiful. I read that
That's
and I
right.
was like, this, like, she gets
We
it.
need a culture change. We do. We need a culture
Amen,
change.
right?
Yeah. At some point in time, we got to stop being two kids on a playground going, but they hit me last, but they hit me last, but
What?
they were
Yeah,
first last
right?
time. We got to stop that. Like my mom always
Mm,
said, two wrongs do not make a right.
they do not. They do
Like
not.
you
Yeah.
reach out with your hand open. Don't reach
Mm.
out to get back. You
Oh,
know what I
that's
mean?
so
Don't it's
good.
not about retribution. It's about
Right.
reaching out to create a bond. And I
Oh, I love
recognize
it.
that that's hard and it's not always possible with all audiences. I recognize that there are
Sure.
people who are
Yeah.
not going to be receptive to
Mhm. Yeah.
even someone who looks like me, Or
Right, right. Okay.
that I
Yeah.
get that.
Mhm.
But the best way to combat that is to achieve and to
Oh, I
prove
love it.
yourself. My mom used to
100%.
say, "Be so good they can't ignore you."
Ah! Oh,
Yeah.
that's gold. I love it.
So
Yes.
I just try and be as good as I possibly can, and I
Mhm.
just try to do the best I possibly can. And when I don't know
Mm.
what to do, I try to break down the decisions that need to be made into small enough decisions that I'm certain of those small decisions. And within those small little
Yeah.
steps, I find myself at the precipice of having completed a large decision.
That's
And
good.
I
Yeah.
make sure to mentor as many women as I do non-women,
Yeah.
you know,
No.
because I feel like if I release into the world, if I'm
Mhm.
able to inspire or lead or help somebody who, let's say they're your stereotypical cis white male, what have
Yeah, sure.
majority, and they look like
Yeah.
everybody else that
Look
we've
like
seen
everybody
in the
else.
industry
Uh-huh.
for the
Uh-huh.
history, if I'm able to inspire and help them in their career, what I'm showing them is that working along this is an
Yes.
inspiring and wonderful experience.
Yes.
That's a
Oh,
culture
that's
change.
good. That
That's a
is
culture change.
100%.
Yeah, as
Absolutely.
much as it is creating women who are exceptional at their job and
Yeah.
inspired and have
Yeah.
gotten into that experience.
No doubt.
So it
No
it
doubt.
needs to be we just need to
Oh,
be
I love it.
generous. Yeah.
100% generous. And
Yeah.
this is what we are talking about earlier. Generosity, kindness, tolerance, acceptance, love,
Mhm.
compassion, bring it to the industry. My daughter is 14, and she's half white, half Latino, and
Mhm.
I've been able it's been really cool during this past award season to take her along to some of these industry screeners and events
That's
and
so
see
cool.
oh, it's so fun, and to
Like,
give her
dad's
an
the
experience.
coolest, you know? Like
Oh, well, try to get some dad cred points. We did this. She absolutely loves Jenna Ortega, and there was a Wednesday,
Mhm.
thing, and so I took her,
Yeah.
and she was just like her to hear,
Yeah.
all the talent, the actors talk about their experience, and I mean, I'll call it what it is. My daughter is a Latina girl who has a passion for writing, directing,
Mhm.
and being part of this in a small way. To bring her around and to see the messages that they were saying, like
Mhm.
she's having now an experience as a young woman and a minority woman to believe that this is actually possible, that
Yeah.
I can actually do this. And it was the same
Yeah.
thing. Like we went to a Barbie screening and she got to talk to Greta Gerwig and she's like, come here, come here. She's like, I said, she's a little aspiring writer, director. She's like, make your movies, girl. Like, just go out there and do it.
Yeah.
The empowering feeling she had from someone saying, you can actually do this
Mhm.
is very inspiring as a father and encouraging. So I know that your work with women in the industry, being a trailblazer and
Oh
saying,
gosh, I
hey,
hope so.
with no, no, you are, because every time you sit down, you are, I like to say, like in our jobs in our industry, every gig and job I do is like the resume for the next one. But what you're doing is you're setting this very high standard and opening the doors wide open, saying you can do this. You do belong. You have
Mhm.
unique skills and talents that, yes, it may not look like what we're used to seeing in the industry,
Right.
but you are here and you can bring
Yeah.
it. And so I love that you're doing that and
Oh,
that you
absolutely.
do it for everybody, really,
It's
you do it
it's
for everybody.
interesting. I don't know if it is back to like my site situation, but
Mm-hmm.
or maybe just that I grew up in a military town, which was very ethnically rich and diverse.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's an interesting experience to come to Los Angeles. I was really surprised to see, like, I didn't know until probably 12 or 13 years into my industry
Yeah.
that there weren't more women.
Wow.
Like, I
Yes.
didn't know.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, because there
Yes.
weren't a lot of people who did what I do anyways. I was in a
Mm-hmm.
smaller market. There was only a
Mm-hmm.
few of us. There was one other woman. Her name was Cheryl. So it was Cheryl and Carol, like we did sound. And Cheryl's
Okay,
wonderful.
there you
She
go.
has an incredible dub stage and business in DC.
It's
Um,
awesome.
but yeah, I didn't know. I thought I would come out to
Right.
LA and there would be like a bunch of women.
Right.
Like,
Oh,
there'd
wow.
be, like,
Yeah.
a bunch of like, of course there are women, like, what this is the coolest job ever, why wouldn't there be a bunch of us? There's gonna
Why
be
wouldn't there?
whatever,
Right.
yeah, whatever, yeah, like, my average producer at Discovery Channel was not a white male,
Oh, okay.
they were usually Black females typically.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like,
Okay, good. Yeah.
I'm from a
Yeah.
culturally unique, and I guess it's unique now that I've gotten out of there, but I thought
Yeah.
it was normal to me. It was a
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
diverse
Right.
environment.
Right.
Yeah, like, I'm
Yeah.
remember that. Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
whatever. Yeah, and and it's also close to DC, so there's a ton of embassies, and it's
Oh,
military town.
yeah.
There's a
That's
ton of
true.
different cultures
Mm-hmm.
and languages,
Mm-hmm.
and in DC, if you had six people together and one of them wasn't like natively from another nation, that was a rare situation.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
you know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Like, it was very, yeah. So, yeah, it's interesting. LA has actually weirdly proved to be more homogenous than I've
Mm-hmm.
ever
Mm-hmm.
experienced, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really begin to experience that until probably 12, 13 years into my career.
Yeah.
And then I
Wow.
looked around and I went, "Whoa, like, where
Yeah.
are girls
Right.
at? Wow, that's a
Yeah.
thing."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad it's great to see, all the work that you've done and your success and, to see more women in the industry, who are out there. And I love it. I just think it's keep doing it. More women, like, get out
Mhm.
there, you belong here, and creating that space, because I know, being a father of a daughter, it's like what you're doing in this space, like, it's like, thank you. Like, thank you for doing that, because our young women need to see that, hey, this is an option. Like,
Mhm.
this can happen, for you if you have enough
Absolutely,
passion
absolutely.
for and you want to do
And
it. There's a
you have
space.
a right to pursue it. You
Absolutely.
have
There
the
it is.
same right
It
as anybody else. You have a
100%.
right to pursue it. Like follow your heart. You have that right.
I,
You have the
I love
liberty to
it.
do that. Yeah.
That's good. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I think as we look at our careers, I'm curious to see what you would think about, like, what is something that now, like if you could go back in time, right?
Oh
To Carol
gosh.
back then, like, and what you've experienced now, what would you tell yourself when you first got started about what you've learned?
I think the biggest thing has been something that I just recently have gained, maybe in the last 5 years,
Mhm.
and that's the feeling that I'm actually succeeding.
Mm,
Like I'm a very goal
mhm.
oriented person. And I have goals. I am not where
Love
I
it.
want to be yet. I will be
Gotcha.
there.
Yes, we'd
Yes, and
always
of
work.
course,
Yeah,
once
always
I
going.
be there, I'll want to be somewhere else
More,
because I
right?
love. Yeah,
Exactly.
because
I'm with you.
but what I learned was that it's not that things aren't good enough, and it's not that we haven't gotten to a place that makes us legitimate. If we're
Hmm.
doing what we are doing, we are performing the function of storytelling through sound, then we are performing the function of storytelling through sound. Like
That's
you're
good.
doing it. That is
Yeah,
success.
that's
If you're able
good.
to do that on any level, you are
Absolutely.
succeeding.
You're doing it.
Congratulations.
Hmm.
You know, you're a mixer. You're doing it. That's the thing. You're doing
Hmm.
the dance. That's it.
I love it.
That's
I
it.
love it.
The different things that you work on and the different adventures and things that you find, those are
Yeah.
unique paths to everybody's individual journey.
That's
And
good.
I,
Yeah.
as much as I love the incredible work that's being done at the highest echelon of
Yeah.
filmmaking and episodic,
Sure.
or documentary, or or environmental, or experimental, or what have the most celebrated works, there's all the work that doesn't get celebrated, that doesn't get as much play,
Yeah.
and that doesn't mean that any of that work is less legitimate, and
Yes.
is not
Absolutely.
it is not a proof of success. If you are
That's so
able
good.
to
That's
do
so
what
good.
you do, you are succeeding.
Mm,
So of course I'm
love it.
clawing and reaching to go with the next thing that, I see the next
Absolutely.
thing I want, or I haven't, I really want to, I want a theatrically released
There you
psychological
go.
thriller.
Oh, yes.
I want to wake some people up in the middle of the night. I
Woo!
do. I want it so bad. Yeah. So like, but and it'll happen.
Watch
It's so,
out.
like I
It's
know
coming.
it'll happen. Like
It's
I know
coming.
it'll happen. Yeah.
100%.
But like that's where I'm at right now.
Okay.
And then when I get that, I'll want do
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
I
I
do.
want
100%. I
yeah,
do. Yeah.
I wanted to work on some superhero stuff. I've been blessed to work
And
on some
you
Marvel stuff.
have.
God bless. God bless.
Woo!
Loki was fun.
Loki, right?
It was
Yeah.
fun. Echo was boss. Yeah, like it
Oh,
was
let's
really
go.
fun. She-Hulk was
Absolutely.
amazing. Like, like
She-Hulk,
it was
uh-huh.
great. So like so there are different adventures that are out there, but that doesn't
Yeah.
mean that if I haven't She-Hulked that I haven't made it
Yeah.
yet. Do you know what I mean? And it doesn't
Right.
mean that if I haven't, done a streamer job, and I'm just if you're somewhere mixing and you're working on industrials, and like I started on political
Yeah.
ads,
Look
y'all.
at that.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you can
Yes.
do any aspect of this. And if you are
Mhm.
communicating a concept through sound and using
Mhm.
storytelling to affect the consuming person, their message, their
Yeah.
experience, you're doing it. You're doing it.
Mm,
Like,
absolutely.
don't tell yourself you're not a success until you reach a particular level.
That's so
Like,
good.
if you're
That's so
operating
good.
it, if you're working it,
Yeah, you're
you
doing
are
it.
succeeding. You're just on a
100%.
path, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I
Where
love
you
that.
go from there and what you do and the adventures that you find, that is unique and individual and no less legitimate or more legitimate than anybody else's path doing what it is that we do.
Oh my gosh. So many nuggets of wisdom, Carol,
So
in
like
this.
don't
This
defeat
is
yourself.
amazing.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
celebrate your win, man.
Celebrate the wins. I'm all about it. It's like celebrate the wins,
Mhm.
find your tribe,
Yeah.
do life together and know that like you said, I love that you said that you have continuous goals. I'm all about goals
All about
too,
it.
and I'm all
Yeah.
about it, and it's almost like it's not the getting that thing, it's who I become in the
That's
process
right. It's the
because it
steps
requires.
there.
Yeah, it's the
It's the
steps. It's
steps
almost like that's
there.
more valuable than actually
Yeah.
getting to the thing.
Yeah, I
Wow.
climbed an energy vortex in Arizona recently. It was a super weird experience.
Oh,
It
wow.
was awesome. It was really cool. But I
Okay.
was like, I never thought I'd be like, I'm from Southern Virginia. I never thought I'd be climbing an energy vortex in
Energy
Arizona.
vortex.
You know what I mean? So,
Wow.
but it's all.
Yeah.
But I'm in. I'm
Hey, I
in.
love
That's
it.
cool, right?
Hey,
That's great. Sounds
absolutely.
great. So I
I
climbed this thing,
love
and I
it.
remember thinking once I got to the top, how high up I was, and
Mm,
how incredible it was to have that vantage point.
mhm.
But also, okay, now I've absorbed that vantage point and it took me hours to get up and it'll take me hours to get down.
You know?
And it was worth the experience of reaching that point. But the real value was in getting there and
Yes.
being able to achieve it
So
and
good.
being able to reach it. Like it was the
Mm.
path to more than it was the 5 or 10 or 15 minutes that we sat there going, this is awesome.
Yes.
Do you know what I
Yes.
mean?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
And it's
100%.
also the path to it that makes this is awesome quite so
Ye-
amazing, you
There you
know?
go. That's
Yeah.
100% it. That's well, I look at I cannot express how joyful and my gratitude to you for taking time to share not only where you started, where you've come from, what you learned along the way, but to just to be here in your energy and your vibe. I love it. I mean, I
Oh,
want to
you're
work
sweet.
together. I'm like,
It would
let's
be
do something
fun. We would
together.
have
Come
so
on,
much
I'll mix
fun.
effects for you. Um, but gosh, just what you bring to the industry is so invaluable. And if anybody's watching out there and you get the chance to meet Carol and get to spend some time with her, you're very fortunate because she is a treasure to this industry. So thank you,
You're
Carol, for
very
your
sweet. Thank
time.
you. You're very
I
kind.
appreciate you spending some time with us here on Mastering Post Production Sound, and I wish you nothing but. Can you give us a hint? Can you talk about what's maybe on the horizon for you, or plans? Or are we
Well,
super
I
secret
gave you
about
a
stuff?
little clue. I don't
You,
know. Like,
oh
yeah,
my gosh,
yeah, like things will happen, man. I
I
manifest.
love it.
I
I love it.
manifest.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
it. That's it. You
I
heard it
manifest.
here.
I manifest.
Watch out. She's gonna be in your head sonically. I love it. Oh, well,
I
this
love
is
it.
what a beautiful time. So thank you again. Everybody go follow her everywhere. She's all over social media. So go check her out, okay? All right, thank you, Carol.
Thank you.